Hello everybody, my name is Blaine Elizabeth and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I am a person in long-time recovery and I like to talk about therapy, addiction, recovery, and the whole recovery journey. So thank you so much for taking a chance to hear what I have to say today. Today I'm going to talk about relapse and recovery. Relapse doesn't always have to be a part of your recovery journey, but it is definitely a part of a lot of our journeys. Unfortunately, relapse rates are quite high with people who are exiting treatment. Statistics show that about 40 to 60% of people will relapse after leaving treatment. It's really important for people who use drugs to acknowledge that relapses occur, find what triggers you, and develop coping skills for those triggers. So the first most common reason for relapsing is withdrawal. Many folks will relapse within the first 5 days of stopping their substance because of avoiding withdrawal. Depending on the substance that you're using, the amount that you are using, your physical body type, your tolerance, and many other factors, withdrawal can vary. Some common symptoms are restless legs, hot and cold sweats, nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, upset stomach, feeling like there's bugs crawling on you, like being uncomfortable in your own skin, insomnia, fatigue, low motivation, just not being able to function. It is highly recommended that people who are withdrawing to seek out a medical detox because depending on what you're using, it can be dangerous, especially alcohol. You can die, you can have a seizure, DTs. That withdrawal process and detox is very dangerous. Sometimes people don't always want to go to a medical detox facility. You have to leave your cats behind. You have to figure out who's going to take care of your rent, who's going to take care of your house, who's going to feed your goldfish, who's going to take care of your kids. Figure out something to tell your work. So that brings in all kinds of barriers for going to detox and being willing to take that first step. The second most common reason for relapse is mental health. People who use substances use because of an underlying condition. Unaddressed mental health concerns such as anxiety or depression, some of us folks may be using to self-medicate. And if those underlying conditions aren't treated, then you're just going to keep on using because that's your coping skill. That's what you're using to cope with your anxiety or to cope with your depression or even other mental health disorders. If drinking or using drugs is your primary coping skill, then when you get clean and sober, all those mental health concerns and triggers and issues are still there with you. So you have to learn to cope with that on top of having a substance use disorder. With the help of mental health professionals and prescribed medication, individuals can definitely go on to live a thriving life. With mental health also comes a whole nother stigma. So there's stigma with using drugs and there's also stigma of mental health. Having both of those stigmas layered on top of each other is really difficult to want to seek treatment. Right, so we're going to move on to the third most common reason for relapse, and that's going to be people, relationships, other people that you're surrounding yourself with. There's an old saying that I've heard time and time again, and it's you got to change your people, your places, and your things, your playmates, your playthings, and your playground. People who are using drugs usually surround themselves with other people that are using drugs. You're not very socially accepted. So you surround yourself with other people who are doing the same things as you so that you feel approval, you feel accepted. Being around those people who are still using, if you're trying to be clean and sober, that doesn't really work and could definitely trigger a relapse. It's happened to me many times. Oh, I'm just gonna go and see so-and-so and tell them how good I'm doing. Show them how good I'm doing. Wrong. Wrong. Girl, you are not gonna stay clean. So there's another saying that I've heard in meetings. I didn't make this up. I'm just repeating it. If you sit in the barber shop for long enough, you're gonna get your hair cut. If you hang out with folks that are using drugs, you're eventually going to use them. Those things don't go together. You can't be clean and hang out with a bunch of people who are using. Ideally, people who are in recovery, whether their drug of choice is alcohol or something else, would like to get to a point where they can go bowling with their family and not be triggered by the alcohol around, or go to a family function and not be triggered. But that takes time, and you have to have a stable foundation and an out. You have to have an excuse to leave. Oh, yep, I gotta go get the kids to bed now. Or, yep, it's time for me to leave. I gotta go make a phone call, or I gotta go to a meeting. It is helpful to have a plan in place when you're going into a environment where people are going to be drinking. I do the same thing. I know that if I'm going to a family function, after dinner time, there's going to be alcohol involved. There's going to be cornhole. There's going to be barbecuing, and people are going to start feeling good and tipsy, and that's when I will make my exit. Another thing is bringing sober support. So I have my really good friend Heather that I bring everywhere with me, and we hang out together all the time, and that's because she's a sober person and a supportive person in my life. Excuse me. I will also bring my boyfriend because he's sober and he's supportive. So it's helpful to have other people that are not drinking, and that way I don't feel left out. My family's pretty good about it, and they know I'm bringing Heather to everything. They already know that. The fourth thing that will trigger a relapse is places. Bars, liquor stores, wine tasting, casinos, strip clubs, parties. Those are some of the obvious places that could trigger a relapse. For me, there was this certain party store that I would stop at and meet my person at on my way into the city. Sometimes when I drive by that place and I just look to the right and I just think of all the awful shit that went down there. Me almost overdosing in the parking lot. Me sitting there waiting, looking all around, hoping that nobody pulls up next to me and is like, what's this bitch doing, you know? Just all the anxiety that went along with that. All those memories flood back every time I drive on that road. And that road is like a main drag through the town I live in. So it's difficult when you've experienced so much of your life and addiction to make new memories now that you're in recovery. Any place that you've associated with your alcohol or drug addiction is an ideal place to stay away from or to steer clear from while you're in recovery. The impacts of the human brain of addiction are so far-reaching that it could be the most minuscule thing that triggers a relapse. Sometimes people were using in their own home, and so your own home may feel like a trigger to you. I know that there has been certain places that I've lived where I would look up and see splatters on the ceiling and remember of why they're there. For obvious reasons, your home might not be a place that you can avoid, but you can change things up. You can wash the walls, you can wash the ceilings, move the furniture around. After you get out of treatment, you can have a sober support come over and gut your house and go through everything and make sure that there's no paraphernalia lying around. It may be helpful to get some new furniture, do a new fresh paint job, so you can feel like this is a place where you can breathe and feel sober and happy and peaceful. That way you can associate your home with your newfound recovery life rather than your substance abuse life. The fifth thing that can trigger a relapse are things. People, places, and things. Oh my. What are things, you ask? Well, remember, I said it could be the most minuscule thing that might not even be a conscious thought in our heads that triggers a relapse. For example, glasses clinking together, opening up a pop bottle, pulling the cork out of something, opening up like a glass can of Coke. That may trigger an alcoholic to drink alcohol or remind them of that. Credit cards, straws, that may trigger someone to want to do cocaine. For me, it's definitely getting my blood drawn, syringes, spoons. a spoon that looks like someone might have burned it with a lighter, like it has black on the bottom of it. Sometimes, like, I use Q-tips for my under eyes, and I'll have a little bag of Q-tips in my car, and I think, oh shit, if a recovering addict like gets in my car and sees this bag of Q-tips, they're gonna be like, what you been doing? Same thing with spoons. If I like to eat yogurt a lot, so I'll have like a little thing of yogurt with a spoon. And if I leave my spoon in my car somewhere, I have to get that out right away, because for me, it's just like, it doesn't look good. Being aware and being mindful of things that you used to use in your addiction is very helpful. In any given situation, with awareness and mindfulness, you can know why you're being triggered. You'll be able to understand why you might be experiencing a craving. You just have to find a healthy way to cope with that. And one of my favorite healthy ways of coping is talking to my bestie, because she's been through it too. She knows what it's like. She has those triggers too. Finding someone that you jive with that's also in recovery is one of the most important things that I have found to help me. The sixth most common reason or trigger is going to be poor self-care. Self-care is a very important part of managing your recovery. When I was using drugs, I didn't give a shit about myself. I would let whoever sleep with me for whatever amount of money. If I brushed my teeth that day, that was a good day. Proper self-care will make you feel good about yourself. It'll raise your self-esteem, and it'll remind yourself that you are a good person and that you deserve respect. It'll send a message to yourself that you care about yourself and you care about your well-being. Poor self-care sends a message to yourself that you don't care about yourself and that you don't respect yourself. These are the feelings that could trigger a relapse. For example, if you're eating a diet that is low in nutrition and high in fats and carbs, this can cause you to feel like in a low mood. It can cause you to feel fatigue and just like you just don't feel good. And you know what happens when we don't feel good? We need drugs to feel better. Weight gain can also cause individuals to feel a trigger for using stimulants or cocaine or Adderall or anything that would make you feel energetic and like you're losing weight. Weight gain can also lead to depression, feeling very low energy, just not feeling good. With that being said, weight gain is very common when you get into recovery because you can taste food again. Food is important to you because when you're using, food doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is getting more drugs into your body. When I was using, all I would do is I would drink milk, and because I thought that that was, putting some sort of nutrition into my body. Poor sleep hygiene can lead to feeling irritable, stressed, a depressed mood, which could trigger cravings, a desire for use, or a relapse. It is really important for individuals who are in recovery to eat well, sleep well, meditate, exercise, and just overall take really good care of your body. Number 7 most common reason for relapse in recovery, I don't know why that is so damn hard for me to say, but it is every single time. Is relationships and intimacy, so intimate partner relationships. If folks are not in a relationship when they first get into recovery, it is not encouraged. In meetings, I believe they say wait a year until you're a year sober to get into a new relationship. And that's so that you can get more stable in your recovery, build your own foundation, become independent. Because in addiction, we are so dependent on other people. We need you for a house. We need you for money. We need transportation because we lost our driver's license. Also, people who are newly sober might try to fill the void of their own life by getting in a new relationship. The person that you're going to be in a relationship with might not know that you're sober, might not know you're in recovery. And so they might drink or going to a bar to have fun because that's what young people do when they date. A newly sober person might not know how to navigate the dating scene as a sober person. Also, even if you were in a relationship before you got sober, you might not like the person anymore because you've changed. You're recovered now. You're on to bigger and better things, and they might be stagnant. They might be stuck. Relationships can bring out really good things in people, and they can also bring out the worst in people. They can trigger unwanted emotions, negative emotions that are triggering really, and can lead to a relapse. Someone that's newly sober might not know how to cope with all of these emotions. Also, if you're a person who is newly sober, you might not know what sober sex feels like. That might cause anxiety or self-esteem issues. Due to arguments, insecurity, uncomfortability, relationships are very hard to navigate while sober. And so if you're a person who's newly sober, a relationship can just be a bad idea. I've relapsed many times from relationships, and I know a lot of other people that that's happened to as well. Just be very cautious while getting into a relationship. Make sure that individual checks all the boxes, and make sure that you are well established in your recovery and that you're independent before getting into another relationship. Don't expect anyone to save you or to fix your life. You have to do that. So the number 8, the 8th most common reason for relapse is pride and overconfidence. So some people who are newly sober, they call it you're on a pink cloud. Some people get straight out of rehab and they're like, oh my God, I love this brand new life. I'm never going to use drugs, never, ever, ever, no matter what. This is a great feeling, and that's awesome to have that confidence. But just remember, no matter how far you get down the road, still that close to the ditch. And keep in mind that anybody and everybody is eligible for relapse. All it takes is a millisecond, being at the wrong place and the wrong time, and that pride and that confidence is not going to keep you sober in that moment. You can be so overconfident in your recovery that you'll put yourself in a risky situation to save someone else, or just because you won't use no matter what. Maybe you want to prove to yourself that you can be sober at a party, that you have the willpower to do it. The overall lesson in this is do not become too cocky, too overconfident, or think that you're cured. Follow the treatment recommendations. Stay away from negative people, places, or things. I mean, not negative, just people, places, and things that remind you of using, or that you used with, or that are currently using. You know what I'm trying to say. All right, guys, number 9, boredom and isolation. Boredom and isolation could easily be listed as number 1. Any downtime that you have as a person who uses drugs or a person in active addiction is used to get money, to hustle. People who are newly sober or who have newly found recovery often have a lot of time on their hands. When you're feeling bored and isolated, you're left alone with yourself, with your own mind. One of the sayings that I've heard in meetings is an addict alone is in bad company. One of the things that I say to my clients sometimes is my brain wants me dead. And I don't know why. I don't want this stupid disease, but it does. It wants me dead. It wants me to do the dumbest shit, I swear to God. So while you should be cautious to not fill your days with appointment after appointment after appointment or be too busy, it is not healthy to be super bored or isolated in early recovery. Think of things like running, joining a fitness club, spending time with other people who are in recovery, going to meetings, finding some healthy things to fill your life up with. What are some things that you've always wanted to experience that you haven't been able to because your disease held you hostage? Try some new activities, pick up some new hobbies, attend a new support group, whatever tickles your fancy. Okay, you guys, and the top 10 most common reason for addiction and relapse is, can I get a drum roll, please? Uncomfortable emotions. Yeah. What I like to say to my clients is the best thing about being sober and clean is you get to feel. The worst thing about being sober and clean is that you get to feel. In active addiction, we use drugs and alcohol to cover up all those negative feelings. When we're angry, we use drugs. When we're sad, we use drugs. When we're happy, we use drugs. So the drugs and the alcohol, they cover up all those negative emotions, sure. It's a temporary relief, but they also rob all the joy from you too. Nobody wants to experience uncomfortable and negative emotions, but the truth is, it's a normal part of the human experience. Some days we're happy, some days we're sad, some days we have anxiety, some days we're stressed, some days we get called into the office and we're like, oh no, what did I do? And we're pulling our hair out. But it's just because we're used to chaos. We're used to that self-sabotage. We're used to doing wrong things. A very important part of addiction and recovery is being able to manage your emotions. Being aware of your emotions, accepting your emotions, being okay with having bad days. The longer that folks stay in recovery, the easier it becomes to manage your emotions. Once an individual reaches a year in sobriety, their chances of maintaining that sobriety exponentially grows. Please do not think that just because you attended a 28 to 30 day program that you're cured. It is highly recommended to seek out outpatient recovery, support meetings, a sober coach, a recovery coach, people in recovery that you have clicked with, that you connect with, that you can trust, that you can talk to. Engage in holistic recovery. Find something that you're passionate about. I don't give a shit what it is. It could be yoga, it could be mowing the lawn, fishing, hunting, dance. I like scary shit. I like RuPaul's Drag Race. Just find something that you love and dive into that. Surround yourself with like-minded individuals. Surround yourself with like-minded people who care about you and care about your well-being. All right, you guys, so that is all for today. Thank you so much for sticking around, and if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please drop a purple or black heart in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, or just subscribe. I don't care. It's all cool. It's fine. It's all right. I ain't gonna be mad at you, but it really does help me out. Getting your first 1,000 subscribers is a crazy feat. Stay in recovery, whatever that means for you. There is no wrong way to recover. And I will see you next time. Bye. Oh my God, I'm so ready. Oh shit, why do I always record these that hurt? No, you cannot sit on my computer. Me and her, we got